Welcome back to Lenz Comic Corner Classic, Last Known Classic. This is episode number 21, 27, and episode number 2021. This one is discussing two Spider-Man related trades. First up, we have the final trade of the Miles Morales Spider-Man volume. This is, of course, the final trade of the first volume, Miles Morales Spider-Man. This, of course, is volume 7, Empire of the Spider, written by Saladin Ahmed. This trade collects issues 37 to 42, the last 6 issues of this volume for the series. Now, in this book, we have Miles and I believe it's not Slim. It's basically a guy like Glup, and they run into randomly the Ultimatum, who has been sort of a villain from a couple of the stories of this run, and he gets beaten really easily. And then they randomly, I think his name is Shift. I think his guy's name is this big boat guy who basically keeps saying Galop a lot. He's a clone of Miles. So they end up in this alternate reality. Work at this Slim, who was from the Clone Saga story arc. He's back, except this is a reality where he didn't die, and he took over Brooklyn. He took over one borough of New York City and became its emperor. Yep, he put under dictation and basically shoved Brooklyn to an alternate dimension. Yeah, and also in this reality, Miles died in their encounter, while the regular one, Slim, died. So, of course, first Miles as the fake one, despite the fact Slim is the fake one. And Miles points out, they're like, well, hello, fake one. And he's like, that's bullcrap. You're the fake one. You're my freaking clone, dude. Yes, I'm so glad that Sarah points that out, but have Miles point out. Genki's in this book, where he's basically a general. We also have Miles' sister Belly, who's this beautiful woman, and she is shocked the fact that his baby sister, who he last saw as a baby, he takes very good care of his sister, by the way, and here she is, like, all grown up, which I'm kind of surprised about that. So, the whole story, when they get there, is like, we got to take down Slim, and we also get some character stuff here. Billy, of course, is not told the fact that this Miles is actually her brother from alternate reality, the one who actually is still alive. And also the fact that she hates spiders, because the fact Slim basically is a massive murderer. And, of course, after Slim's taken out, she becomes a spider slayer. Yes, seriously, that's what she calls her, the spider slayer. Well, it's alternate reality for you. And then, of course, you have, well, the reason why Miles is basically going to the multiverse is looking for his uncle who's alive. He does find him and frees him and takes down Slim, and then, of course, reality is restored. And then, of course, you have people just remembering the dictatorships, one guy for this neighborhood for who knows how long. But this was a really good story arc. And it's a nice way to end this run. And, of course, I would mention this book that he really wanted to end this book at this point in time because he felt like it was time for him to go. I was pointing out in the book. But for the final trade of this run, it's actually pretty good. Give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Final thoughts on Saladin Ahmed's run for Miles Morales Spider-Man. A bit mixed at best because the first couple years of the book he barely featured Genki. Miles' best friend. That was the first problem in the book. Another problem was the fact that his girlfriend, the one who's supposed to be his actual girlfriend, never featured this book. Nope, never was. Do not know the reason for it. She just was not here. So they have Miles back with his girlfriend he was dating previously, Barbara. And it's almost like the Bendis run just never happened. Yes. And then they created Tombstone's granddaughter, Sterling, which I kind of like their relationship, but I'm like, what was wrong with the relationship between Miles and Luna, a.k.a. Bombshell? As a matter of fact, that relationship, like, after they kind of start dating in Spider-Man 240, it's like, the next time she's seen, the relationship was never mentioned. It's almost like some people at Marvel really want people to forget about Bendis' awesomeness at Marvel. Yeah, I don't know if that's Sam Ahmed's idea to do that, or was some higher-up editor who wanted to basically have someone basically just retcon a lot of the stuff that Bendis did during his last couple years at Marvel. It's like, retcon a lot of that stuff, and just do basically this and have Miles hook up with Sterling, who is black, and I'm like, what's wrong with a mixed relationship? Yes, seriously. Yeah, Luna was white. Yeah, in my personal opinion, this is fine. I have personal problem with this relationship. This is perfectly fine. Luna's had a thing for Miles since they were in the Ultimate Universe. So, here's the thing. Luna is only featured in the E.V. Ewing Champions book after Spider-Man 240. That's the only time you see her for like 2 issues, and that is it for her. It's not the character's fault. I think this is basically Marvel being petty at Brian Michael Bendis for daring to leave them after 20 years. Yes, that's pretty much, you can kind of think of it as Saladin Ahmed probably supporting a agenda to basically be so petty against Brian Michael Bendis for daring to leave Marvel Comics and go DC for a few years. Yes, that's pretty much all a lot of this book was basically being so petty against him, of all people. I love Bendis' work on Spider-Man. I thought it was awesome. Anybody basically who reads his run, it can easily point out, though, it is by far one of the ways that he, along with Joe Quesada at the time, helped save Marvel Comics. Yeah, Joe Quesada basically made this stuff like One More Day, One More Time, but those 2 bad stories. But he did a lot of really good stuff at Marvel. So the Bendis, he gave us Miles. Though I heard the reason why Miles was created because of the Steve Ditko lawsuit. But Miles went great. I love Miles. I think he's a great character. But you can kind of summarize this run as basically like I just said, Marvel being petty at Bendis leaving. That's it. But it's got some good stories in it. I like the character Ultimate. I like the fact that I'm actually able to follow up with Spider-Man 2. Yeah, something Bendis half the time doesn't want to do, have to follow up with something he came up with. So, you got at least got to praise him for that. He's written the same, which, good on him for that. But it's like, Miles was one girlfriend, breaks up with her, and then, of course, he's with Tombstone's granddaughter, just because they're black. Yes. It's like, Noah Marr wants to play do the whole thing of, like, let's have a mixed relationship. I mean, Bendis did an awesome job with Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and that was a great relation. That's still a great relationship, and my guess is probably the reason why Marvel does not undo that relationship, like have them get divorced or have their daughter die at some point. I think there must be something in Bendis' contract that prevented him to do anything bad to the relationship of Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, because he did for so long, and my guess is, despite the fact that he may have left, I think the reason why that was not ignored, or at least undone by some other writer, as saying probably the marriage never happened, or something like that. I think the reason why is because there probably was something in Bendis' contract, or probably something he put in place, that this relationship does not get touched. Do not undo it. Do not do anything to the relationship at all, unless it's me. He probably had full creative control over Jessica Jones. That's probably what happened. No, there has been at least one Jessica Jones book feature since he left, and that featured basically Jessica Jones fighting the daughter of the Purple Man. But that's basically it for Jessica Jones. She's been occasionally playing in Marvel since then. Not much. But yeah, next up we're going back in 2010 with Osborn Evil Incarnate. This came out during a period of time where I think like Venom got an ongoing series. This is part of the big time tie-in stuff. Yep. Written by Kelly Suhanik. And the best way you can actually describe this miniseries is that it's a prelude to the second line of Dark Avengers. Well, actually, simply just known as Osborn, but the trade is called Osborn, evil, incarcerated. Yeah. It's definitely a good idea of a miniseries. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, in this book, he meets a few characters who can't like. He meets Toxic Dixie, who becomes like. He meets her in this miniseries, who becomes basically a Scarlet Witch, and still occasionally appears this very day. Mm-hmm. You have Kingmaker, who, as far as I can tell, does not appear again after this miniseries wraps up. It was gotta go Zorro. He actually killed off in the very next issue. Toxic Dixie, who great character. At one point she was like evil Scarlet Witch. Now she's a Toxic Dixie again. She, of course, like I mentioned, was part of the Dark Avengers after this, and then she went back to being a evil scientist. She still occasionally appears. It's shocking the fact that a character who is most associated with Dark Avengers still occasionally appears. Like, here's the thing. After this miniseries wrapped up, she was featured, of course, in New Avengers, Dark Avengers, that book basically was retitled as. She was featured in the Inhumanity story arc for tie-in story arc for Avengers Assemble, and she was featured in one issue of Captain Marvel, and that's basically been it. Yeah, she's not featured in any comic book since 2015. Yeah. But at least that basically some writers took care of her. Mm-hmm. There's a Carl Reeves. He is only seen this miniseries. Yeah, except for Toxic and Norman. There's also Decapitated now. He of course made his first appearance in this miniseries. And then after this miniseries wrapped up, he, of course, like I said, he popped them Dark Avengers. Actually, scratch the next appeared in Spiral and Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. And then, of course, he died in Dark Avengers 190. Then apparently he popped up in... Actually, it was a Scream, but yeah. He's been dead. Yeah, he's actually the only person from this book who's actually dead. Mm-hmm. There's also followed Commuter, who got killed off before the end of this miniseries. I have the cover here in the tray. That's actually the cover of the second issue. Nora Winter's in this book, along with Peter Parker. Peter Parker's actually in one issue, but it's not surprising. She was also appearing in this book, appearing in Amazing Spider-Man, but after this miniseries wrapped up, this is what she was featured in. One issue of Spider-Girl, the Fears of Spider-Man miniseries, some more issues of Amazing Spider-Man, Spiral and Deadly Foes. She was also a recurring character during Greg Kirkman for Punisher. Still appearing lots in Spider-Man. I mean, the most recent appearance, it was actually in Savage Spider-Man number 5. Yeah, that was the most recent appearance today. Mm-hmm. I remember she also got briefly imprisoned by... Actually, maybe a different person who got briefly imprisoned. I think it was Sally Floyd who got briefly imprisoned by... Well... Yeah, she, of course, well... After she got imprisoned by Norman Osborn, she was never seen in comics ever again. Mm-hmm. Nora, I think she's been somewhat described as if you look at her, she's kind of basically Marvel's equivalent to either Lois Lane or Cat Grant, given her sexuality. Yeah, at one point in her debut, she had basically where she licked Peter Parker's cheek. Yes, seriously. But this miniseries, it's like he's in prison here, he gets out. But this miniseries is really good. I like the fact that Ben Urich is featured because he doesn't like Osborn at all. Osborn despises him. Purely because basically he thinks that, well, he actually did a press conference during Dark Reign. He thought Frontline was basically a garbage rag. That is what he referred to Frontline as. But this miniseries, really good. The artwork in here is done by Amelia Rios and Becky Cohen. Yes, Becky Cohen does an artwork in issue 5. But yeah, it's basically Osborn is underwater prison. He briefly escapes from, though he does come back in the custody in the miniseries. And, well, then he's not seen again for over a year. In comics. Yep. Pops up New Avengers. And then eventually he returns to Spider-Man books, where he's been since then. Yep. I give Osborn, Evil Incarcerated, a 9.5 out of 10. Just really good. Alright, so that's it, particular review. Stay tuned for my next review, which will be more comic corners and maybe some more anime, okay? Next video.